Welcome to your Aligned as Fuck Life podcast, hosted by your girl, Shalvika. I am a life transformation coach, a wife, a cat mom, pure generator, Enneagram 3, Pisces sign, and helping you build an aligned as fuck life is my jam. Out in this world, we believe that there are no set rules for building a life, career, and business. That we are all unique and we should be able to embrace our uniqueness in everything we do while shedding all the rules or bullshit rules one at a time. We will talk all things mindset, manifestation, healing, energetics, rituals, success, and so much more. I believe that I can have it all and you can too. Ready for an episode that will take you one step closer to your aligned as fuck life? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to episode 21 of your Aligned as Fuck Life with Shalvika. This episode is harmonizing masculine and feminine energy as a soulpreneur with the beautiful Chrissy Mellinger. I cannot wait for you guys to dive into this juicy as fuck conversation. So I'm not gonna take any more time. Let's dive right into it. I am so excited today to have this super awesome human with me, Chrissy, who is a business and authenticity mentor. And welcome to the podcast, Chrissy.
Oh, thank you so much, Shavika. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about you. Like, introduce yourself to us. Tell us a little bit about your work, what makes you tick. And I also would love to know what you like to do when you're not mentoring people.
The real juice of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Always.
All right. So I am Chrissy Mellinger. I work as a business and authenticity mentor for women entrepreneurs to help them really discover who they are. At the end of the day, we're going to talk about a lot of energies today, but there's so much conditioning and programming that is put upon each one of us that for a lot of women in particular, we make it into quote unquote adulthood without actually knowing who we are at our core, of actually knowing like what we want to do and all that. So I help them get back to that and then build businesses that increase their influence, their impact, and their income so that they can be who they want to be without the stresses of life, right? Without worrying about it.
Nice.
Let's see, what else? I started in 2020. I worked in hotels for about 6 years prior to that, and then the world went to hell. Left in, I'm super excited because I was furloughed for most of the year and then given the option basically to stay on knowing that there is a likely layoff coming or take a severance package and leave. So my technical last day was a Friday in August, and I registered my LLC that following Monday.
Oh,
and I wish,
timing.
Right? Like it worked out. And I wish I could say, I do and I don't, wish I could say that I never looked back. Of like, I found my dream and I never looked back. But there were absolutely days, mostly in the beginning, where I'm just like, I made really good money pretty easily in my corporate job. Like I was good at it. Yeah. And this is a whole new world of holy shit. Like, what am I doing here? Like I was barely on social media before. And now my whole life is social. Like it's just, it's very different.
Get it. Exactly. Oh my God. I had my first panic attack after I've never had a panic attack ever in my life. And 2 months into entrepreneurship, and it's like 1 a.m. and I'm breathing in a bag. And my husband's like, I'm like, I think I'm going to die. And he's like, no, you're having a panic attack. And he's been a business owner for like years. Like he graduated college and he's like became an entrepreneur, so he knows. Yeah, it's like, no, it's nothing, it's just having a panic attack, don't worry about it. So yeah, but I think what we are going to be talking about today is harmonizing masculine and feminine energies, especially as a soulpreneur. I think that is so important because again, for me, and I think even for you, moving from corporate, which is very heavily like metrics driven and numbers driven, and your KPIs and no, is it KPIs or K?
Yep.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
KPIs. I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember the terms. Can you believe? Like I'm like that blanked out. I'm so glad. But moving from that to this world of just I want to say insecurity at that point, especially when you are just starting off, when you don't know what's happening. So yeah, how is that experience for you? Like that switch?
It was, this has been honestly the coolest thing that I've ever done, but also complete chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Like switching from, so I've had two careers before. I did hotels, and then prior to that I did hedge fund administration, and in both of them I climbed up very quickly. Like I was very good and efficient at what I did.
Right.
And in hotels, my whole job was to make money. I was a revenue manager. My whole job was to make as much money as I could for the company.
Right.
And then to go into this world of I make money, but I also know the people. They weren't just like reservations anymore. They actually became people.
Yeah.
And I had to put myself out there.
Yeah.
I have learned more about myself in the last 2 years than combined in my entire 20s.
Oh my God.
Which is very cool. Like I feel like now I am ready to help other women be authentic because now I am.
Yeah.
But it's terrifying. Anxiety attacks and panic attacks and like all this, it like you nailed it with the insecurity of who am I to charge this much money? Who am I to put myself out there as an expert in something that I've literally never done before?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was that very buttoned up, like I worked in a very different region of the US than I was born in. So like I was the very blunt girl in the South that didn't really know how to hold her tongue when it was appropriate. Yeah, no, it's been a chaotic whirlwind of I hate this. This is horrible. Oh my gosh, I'm on cloud nine. What am I doing? I need to do this. This is my purpose. Oh my God.
I love that. I think honestly, for me, of course, like I've made money, I've made impact, I've like changed people's lives. But I think the biggest thing about being like running this coaching business is that my business has been this massive vehicle of self-healing. And I think that's like you said that like the ups and downs of it are insane. But yeah, I mean, so how was it? How did you try to manage the whole uh, coming from a corporate job with all of those masculine driven parameters like efficiency and productivity and blah 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 to getting to the space where you can decide when to work, when not to work. You can decide how your day looks like, or I'm just gonna like not work on Mondays, whatever that looks like. Like how was that shift for you? How did you go about it?
Not gracefully, very not gracefully. I started out very, very much still in that masculine, in that very toxic masculinity of I gotta go, like, right? Like I ended one life, quote unquote, on a Friday, and I started this brand new life on a Monday. And it had been, I had months of trying to figure things out. Like I had been furloughed for a while. But I went right in on Monday and I'm like, okay, I got to work 5, 6, 7, 8 hour days. I need to figure out how to build the website, do all these things. And I went really, really hard, which on one hand was great because I got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
But it also was miserable for probably the whole first 4 months because every day it felt like I can't get enough done. And also I have no idea how to build a website. Like,
Yeah.
I was on GoDaddy at the time, and like that shit is not user friendly. Like it's not. So I found a coach pretty quickly and was like, I don't want to do this on my own. This is going to take way too much time. But it still wasn't I want to be supported in this. I want to feel good about this. It was purely I can get there quicker if I have someone helping me. So it was still that masculine mentality of like, here's the end goal, whatever that goal was. How can I use my resources to propel me there faster?
Yeah.
And I loved my coach. I worked with her for over a year, one-on-one, and it was a struggle of like we would have meditation calls where like she would, help me ground in and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there for the entire 45 minutes fighting against my own brain of we should not be sitting here breathing. We should be sitting here talking about how my group program is not happening or how like they're like all the things, right?
Yeah.
And I think the first thing that really got kind of grounded it a little bit more in my brain of, hey, you can't do it this way was I started in August and then in January with minimal presence. Like, I mean, under 150 followers, barely, like, very inauthentically showing up. I launched a full 6-week, incredibly intense program that probably should have been like a 3-month group program.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I can do this, and this is it, and I'm going to show them, right? I'm going to prove to them that I can do this.
Yeah.
I didn't get one like, one engagement, one nothing, literally crickets for the entire launch. And I was so angry after that and upset and railed against it and was just like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I can't even make it 6 months. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then had multiple conversations and, have been studying this whole time of books and different podcasts and things like that. And was like, we're going to try this surrender thing, right? We're going to try whatever the fuck this surrender thing is that people tell you about.
Yeah.
Which then led into a whole different world of like, what? I don't understand what this is.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my God. It feels like you're narrating my life story back to me. Like literally feels like the first coach that I hired was like, normally a sales conversion rate is 10%. So if you want 10 clients, you need to talk to like 100 leads. And I'm like, what the fuck do I get 100 leads? Like, no, you can just like follow people around and like follow 40 people today and then see if they follow you back. And then I am just like, oh my God, this is my corporate job all over again. Like, I have this set of tasks that I'm supposed to do like every single fucking day. And when do I coach people? Right? Like, when do I actually connect with people and coach people? And I knew from the get-go, I did not want it to be that. I did not want it to be a numbers game. Like, at the beginning of this year, I decided like I don't have a money goal for this year. So I decided an impact. Yeah. So I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to have a money goal. I'm going to have an impact goal. So I'm going to work with like 100+ people. Like, that's what it's going. And it doesn't matter. It could be through my free containers. It could be through small masterclasses, through my mastermind, through my one-on-one, whatever it is. Right? I'm going to focus on impact. And honestly, I can't tell you, it's just like skyrocketed my business because I'm not obsessing about the numbers and everything. But then anyway, like, for someone who's listening in, right? Like, how did you kind of strike that balance between this end of the pendulum to the other? Like, how did you find your equilibrium? Or what advice would you have for someone who's looking for that equilibrium?
First, I want to give a piece of advice and then go back into the how.
Cool.
And the first thing is focus. Like, I like that you said equilibrium. This idea of balance, we're over that. Like, we're done with that shit. So it's an equilibrium. It's a harmony.
Yeah.
What works for you one day is going to shift a little bit the next day. And that's okay. Stop thinking that it's this perfect blend of like you have this beautiful structured agenda every day and you wake up and you flow and it's easy. No, like that might happen. Like that happens absolutely. And you also have those days and those weeks where you all are hustling your ass off.
Right.
But it's in a really aligned, sacred way, not the KPIs and all the metrics and all of that. And then there are weeks or there are days where you're just like, I'm gonna watch TV this afternoon. Like I'm gonna serve my clients, right? I'm gonna return to them.
Yeah.
But then I'm just gonna like sit outside with my dogs.
Yeah.
Like I probably have the best tan of my adult life this summer because this summer has really truly been a practice in play when we get into that energy of we want to make the impact not only for our clients in the world, but we want to make the impact for ourselves. And if we're building these lives of freedom or spaciousness or whatever you want to call it, and you're working all day, every day, like, again, we're not in corporate where we're working until we're 65 and retire. Like, this is the time where we get to enjoy our lives.
Oh, yeah.
So keep that first and foremost in mind of like, your life is happening now. The life that you are working so hard to create is happening right now. So like, stop fucking around. Like, get your shit together and stop fucking around. So that's the big piece of advice.
Right.
How I did it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation of, okay, if I swing too far to the feminine, that's wholly uncomfortable for me. Like that really is incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if I work really hard for 4 straight days, then I'm burned out. So what if I do 2 days here or 2? Like it's a lot of trial and error of what works for you. And I've personally gone through, I don't even know how many iterations of like a morning routine of journaling, setting my intention for the day. I will never get away from planners, but like I have very detailed planners, Shalvika can see, very detailed planners of like the goals I want to get done.
Yeah.
But never too many on one day. Like really try and spread that out and find out. The biggest thing is while you're experimenting and trying things out, it's really about seeing what you like to do, seeing what works for you. So like even between the two of us, when you're in your feminine flow and that creativity and that seeing how things go, we were talking before you hit record, like you napped yesterday.
Yeah.
I binged TV shows yesterday. Like how we exist is going to look different.
Yeah.
And one is not good, one is not bad. It's just what is really supporting you in that moment. Yeah. And take the judgment out of it. Become an observer. Become that like really curious kid who wants to just see what happens today. Like if you have a structure in place where you work with clients in the morning, is that where your energy is best? Or do you need to put your client calls in the afternoon? Don't be afraid to think that you're a failure or that you're doing something wrong if you like can't get into a structure or get into that flow. Yeah. Because whatever's working for you in a healthy, divine way is perfect for you.
I love that. Honestly, because I myself struggled with that, right? Because I've struggled with structure all of my life, to be honest. Like, I don't have a specific like wake up time, and when I decided to become a coach, right, there was this idea in my head about what a coach needs to be like. And
Yeah.
I'm like, here I am struggling to fucking wake up in the morning. Right? I can't even stick to a specific wake up time. Who gives me the right to coach people? Right? And that's when I think I love this when you say that it's not one shoe fits all. Like all of us, like 7 fucking billion people on this planet, we're all unique. We all come with our own sets of stories and traumas and histories and all of that beautiful messiness of being human. And it's okay to do things differently. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges I have had, especially with a few coaches that I ended up hiring. Again, like you said, I hired them because I was like, I'm at point A, I need to get to point B. This person seems to know her shit. Right? And then they would just give me this template that felt so icky and uncomfortable. And then again, like bringing the analogy of a pendulum. So I tried this one end of the swing. So I went to the other end of the swing, like you said, like when you are in your deep, like just feminine energy for too long, it makes you uncomfortable. And then I worked with other people who were just like ease and flow, ease and flow, ease and flow. And I'm like, what the fuck is ease and flow? Like this makes
Right?
me so uncomfortable. Like
I'm not
literally-
programmed for that.
yeah, I'm like clenching all parts of my body. How is ease and flow supposed to feel? And yeah, I think that's beautiful that just, all of us get to choose what works for us. And that's what is so amazing about being an online business owner, I think, because, it just gives us that. I think it's a massive privilege to be able to do what we do. Yeah. So what are some of your go-to tips, especially when you get in your head too much about either like too much into your numbers or too much into like I need to just not do anything. I'm supposed to. That happens to me on vacations. I don't know if that happens to you on vacations. Like I am just like, okay, 2 weeks, I ain't doing anything. And I get on the flight and I'm like, oh my God, I have this amazing idea for a piece of content. I'm down. I'm excited, okay? It's not pressure to do it. But it's just like I am so excited. I want to share this. So what are some of your tips to kind of manage when you get into your head too much?
I definitely have more tips for the head than the body because that's where I lean.
Right.
The first one is to get into your body. We are experiential creatures. We are born with this desire to touch and feel and do and be. Look at babies. Like babies grab people's hair or earrings or glasses or whatever. They're not thinking.
Yeah.
So I like to use, there's this, have you heard of expressive arts?
I have, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for anyone who hasn't, expressive arts has been around since the dawn of time. But it's, when we think of it this way, it's actually coined in like the 70s as an approach to therapy.
Right.
And it's really about doing anything creative, anything, singing, dancing, chanting, yelling, crocheting, coloring, anything, where the focus is on the journey, because it's literally getting us out of our brains into our bodies. So for me, I like to draw and I like to move my body. And when we're thinking so much of I got to do all this stuff and I got to get this content out and I have this launch and I have to help my people and I have to have those 100 freaking stupid ass discovery calls to get 10 clients. Don't do that shit anymore, people. That's not what it's about.
It's not, yeah.
But when we have all these things like this checklist that never ends, put on music.
Yeah.
It can be any type, whether it's like flowy, lyrical, pretty music, or it's like 90s grunge rock, whatever you want to do, and put on something and then just move your body. because when you are in 2-3 minutes of moving, even if it's slow, like graceful moving, it's a lot harder to think all the chaos train thoughts that you're thinking. So literally, physically do something where you're activating your body, you're getting back into, you can do breath work, and you can just do deep breathing, right? It doesn't have to be this big elaborate breath work practice.
Right. Yeah.
Deep breathing is really helpful, which is something I learned from my first panic attack, like how to really do deep belly breathing. That stuff is really incredible. Box breathing, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Those have been really ideal. And then go talk to somebody, whether it's, you have a therapist, if that is what works for you, go for it. But it can also be, it can be a partner. I highly recommend having a community of other entrepreneurs. Like, Shavika, you're fortunate in that your partner like is in a similar world and gets it. And like, I laughed when you were like, oh, it's just a panic attack. I'm like, he gets it. Like, he's in that world. They're in that world. But find those people that you can go to and say, I'm having it today. Like, I'm feeling it today, whatever it is, and actually ask for help. Like, we all have people, whether we use them or not is the question. But again, when we can start to verbalize, when we can get this stuff out of our mind, out through our mouths and out to somebody else, it releases the pressure. It really starts to like clear out our channel. And then that all kind of works mostly with the masculine, getting out of our mind. So when you're in that flow, remember why you're doing it. So when you are too much in your flow and you're like, I don't know about you, but when I'm too much, I'm like, well, I don't want to work at all anymore. Like, I just want to be a kept woman and not worry about it. Remember why you're doing this. Because as much as we're building lives for ourselves and we're building that financial security and all the big, beautiful things that we're doing for us, right? We're changing the world. Whether you actively think of it that way or not, every time we show up as our weird, unique, crazy selves, we change the world forever. And remember, when you are so in that, you start to get out of the divine feminine into that misaligned, typically disempowered feminine. Remember that that's not serving either. That's not serving you. That's not serving the world. And put little baby structures in place, right? Go on your social media page, whichever one you used, and engage for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Like, you can do that in the bathroom. You got 5 minutes in your day. And then start to add on from there. And and then just, again, trial and error of like, where can I add some structure in my day? Doesn't have to be business related, because once you put structure in any part, it starts to flow, right? Energy can't be compartmentalized.
Oh, yeah. I think that is something like I've always held that belief that even when I was in my corporate job, right? Like you said, on paper, it was amazing for me. Like, I grew massively. I was making an insane amount of money. I was getting crazy opportunities to travel through my work. Like, I went to Germany, I went to Brazil, Mexico, I went to the US. And it was just like, whenever I would share that, but it just doesn't feel right, everyone around me, like even my parents, they would like, but it's so good. Like, your job is so fucking awesome. Like, why don't you just like leave it behind, because it's letting you live the life that you want. And I'm just like, no, that can't be. You can't compartmentalize. Like you said, energy can't be compartmentalized. So it's always a holistic approach to how do I want to feel. It's not a question of how do I want to feel at work and how do I want to feel when I'm not working. It's a question of how do I want my life to be.
Yes. I think like that you nailed it. Like it's not, business is a tool, right? Business is a tool for us to have the life we want, make the impact that we want. But we don't have to be different. And I think that's the secret to this very elusive idea of surrender.
Oh yeah.
Of
Yeah.
you can't pick and choose. You
Yep.
can't pick and choose where you have faith. Because at the end of the day, for me at least, surrendering is about having faith. It's about having faith in myself, having faith in, I believe in a bigger, I believe in source energy.
Right.
But it's having that faith in yourself, and you don't get to pick and choose. You either have it or you don't.
You don't. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So.
And I think that's one of the best parts I feel about my work is to help people, like help my clients, help anyone, in fact, who interacts with me to get to that, at least like a step closer to a semblance of safety within themselves. Because most of us don't feel safe within us. Like, and unless you do that, how the fuck do you believe that, I got my back? Right? And I think that's so fucking beautiful for me.
For that, I want to give a tip on how to do that a little bit.
Please.
And this is something that is actually, funnily enough, from my corporate days. I had a colleague at one of my hotels tell me about an add a girl file or add a person file. But basically, it's a tracker that I still use today. Like I'm finishing up my last August to August one, but it's a tracker of all the things that you're proud of, all the examples throughout the day of things that you've done, that you're grateful for, that are forms of abundance. And it can be anything, right? There are some days, full honesty, there are some days where I have like 5 things on mine, and it's, I ate real food today. Like I ate actual protein and veggie today and didn't shove crap in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then some days it's like, oh, I created 15 Canvas slides and I talked about my offers and I had a great client call and da-da-da-da. Yeah. But when our brains are wired to keep us safe, but not safe in the way you're talking about it, safe in the way of small and in our comfort zone and very boxed in.
Yeah.
And we're biologically hardwired to look for that evidence to keep us small. So if you can build up your add a person file and prove to yourself that there is an ever-growing list of evidence of why you should have faith in yourself, why you can do this, why you should keep going, even on the days where you're like, this is the worst mistake of my life. Yeah. That changes the game because you can go back to it and pick a random date and be like, in February 2022, I did this really hard thing and I did it really well. And actually now that I think of it, now in August, 6 months later, I'm way quicker at it. Like, look at that massive growth. Yeah. There are so many little things that we're learning as entrepreneurs about ourselves and the world and just everything that we take it for granted. Yeah. Whereas this is one of the hardest jobs you're ever going to have. This is one of the hardest versions of yourself that you're ever going to be. Don't take that shit for granted. Like, track it. Find the evidence in that.
Love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it. So do you have any last tips or stories that you want to share before we let you go?
I mean, I feel like I could share 1,000, but the last thing would be, it's going to be messy. It's going to be messy. And there are days where it's going to be horrifying of like, I love how you said, Shavika, that you don't have an income goal for this year. And like, that really makes me want to look hard at my Q4 and be like, oh, how can I tweak things up? Yeah. But I'm sure that there is also a moment at some point of, this is, okay, we're doing this, but like, we're doing this,
Yep, all the time.
right? Remember that it's gonna be, and it's supposed to be messy. We are humans we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. There is no right way for it to look. There's no right way for you to exist. There's no right way. It is a matter of what feels really good to you.
Yeah.
And allows you to make an impact and to help others and to change the world. And whatever the fuck that looks like, go for it.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So before we wrap up, I like to ask this question to all of my guests. What's one book or movie or podcast that you are obsessed with and you would definitely want our listeners to read or watch or listen to?
I read one a couple of months ago, and this is very niched. But I think it applies. Like, I would encourage everyone to read it. It is a book called When Women Ruled the World. Okay. And it actually goes in and it looks at, I believe it's 6 or 7 of the female pharaohs of Egypt. And it goes, millennia back. And it's very heavy on Egyptian history. I'm going to add that in there. But it talks about the differences in culture and the differences in power and the way that Egyptian society, which is one of the first societies that very quickly was civilized, right? That's a weird way to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, one of the most ancient civilizations. Yeah.
Right, and extremely advanced. Yeah. And it gives all these examples of how women have been kind of made small and then came back and changed things for the better. And you can find the parallels in there of women empowerment and soulpreneurs and, going against the status quo in just like very real ways that also remind you at the end of the day that we've been doing this for a really long time, that people have been changing the game and showing up differently. And it just gives you that feeling of you're not alone. So there's a lot of really good things, but it's also very niche because it is Egyptian historical. But I would encourage When Women Ruled the World.
Definitely. I wrote it down. Definitely gonna read that. I'll probably add it to my book club. But yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm obsessed with Egypt, by the way. Like, it's been my childhood dream to just go and spend a really good amount of time in Egypt. But yeah, let's not go on a tangent.
We can talk about that separately for a whole big thing. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chrissy. This has been lovely. I am so glad that we got to do this because I think some of the insights that you shared with us today are so important. Just as human beings, I think, like, even not just as soulpreneurs, but just as an entire exercise in being human. I think that they're so valuable, and thank you so much for sharing them. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on iTunes so that I can keep the good stuff coming. And if you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up some extra inspiration and send me a hello on Instagram by searching @ShalvikaP. Also tagged in the show notes. I love and adore you so much, and I will talk to you super soon. In the meantime, continue building your most authentic and aligned as fuck life. Ciao!